everyone. Since it's December and the holidays and Christmas are coming up, I thought I would do a video about holiday books. And it's around this time of year that I've mentioned before that I like to read a lot of classics. I just tend to be in the mood for that. But also, I do keep a lookout for books that are set during the holidays that have sort of a Christmassy theme and things like that. And I've noticed that the majority of them seem to be romance novels or love stories or chick lit. And I am not really into that genre. I've read a couple like that, but it seems to really dominate the holidays as it's like a time for romance. And so I'm constantly on the lookout for books that aren't like that, that are just set during the holidays or that have a really great plot or characters or writing and just happen to have a Christmas backdrop or be set in the winter time or do have a Christmassy theme but aren't written as a love story and just have something interesting or a new take on this type of story. So in this video I'm going to talk about 10 books that I've found that I haven't actually read, so I'm not sure how good they are, but they're on my Goodreads holiday bookshelf list, and so I thought I would share them there if you're looking for something unique to read or just in the mood to talk about books that are set during the holidays or have a Christmassy or holiday theme that aren't romance novels. So let's get started. The first book is called The Man in the Cinder Clouds. It's written by Rick Daley, and it is very short. It's only listed as having 180 pages, and it talks about someone who finds a book buried in the ice on a trip to the North Pole, and it's written by an elf, and it talks about Santa Claus, how he came about, how he was a human, but he was found by elves and grows up among them. And he tries to find his true family, and he starts delivering presents on Christmas, and the High Council of Elves is convinced that humans are wicked at heart, but he has to prove them wrong or else he can't return home, and so it's this whole story. So it's kind of like a new take on Santa Claus and elves and kind of fantasy-like, so I thought that sounded really, really fascinating. Next book is a classic that I heard about some years ago, but I haven't got around to reading, and that is A Christmas Memory by Truman Capote. And it's very short, a little story about two people and their friendship and the memories they share, their holiday rituals and things like that. I'm just getting all of this from the synopsis. I haven't read it. I might actually try and get my hands on a copy this year because it is quite short, and I don't usually have time to read a lot of long books. So I definitely am looking forward to reading that this year, and hopefully I can get a copy in. If it's not too popular, I'll try and get it from the library. The next book is called A Mark Twain Christmas by Carlo DeVito, and I believe this is a nonfiction book. Again, very short, only 160 pages it's listed as on Goodreads, and it talks about the traditions and the ways that Mark Twain celebrated the holidays, and they say that he always had a soft spot for Christmas, and so this was a very important holiday to him, and how he celebrated it with his family and things like that. It looks like that's how it's about, or what it's all about. I haven't read a lot of Mark Twain. I don't know a lot about him personally, but I just feel like this book would be so charming and so interesting and also so unique and also perfect for book lovers and readers, and of course especially if you're a Mark Twain fan, you'll probably love this book too. The next book is called The Greatest Gift, and it's listed on Goodreads as the original story that inspired the Christmas classic It's a Wonderful Life. It's by Philip Van Dorenstern, and I absolutely love It's a Wonderful Life. I love to watch it every Christmas Eve, kind of as a tradition. I think it's such a good movie. It gets you in that holiday mood. It has such a great message and things like that. So obviously, if you know the movie, I'm assuming you know the plot. I don't know how close it is to the film or how close the film is to the book. Again, it says here it's only 72 pages, so not very long. I've actually put a hold on this at the library, so I hope it comes in and I can read it this season before I watch the movie and then maybe do a comparison. The next book is called The Autobiography of Santa Claus. It's by Jeff Gwynne. I've been wanting to read this book for a long time, but I haven't been able to get my hands on a copy. It doesn't seem to be very popular. It only has about 2,000 ratings on Goodreads, and it's, again, very short, a little under 300 pages. And it's about kind of a realistic, I guess, sort of telling. It has some fantasy elements, I think, about Santa Claus, who he is, where he came from. There's a lot of books, actually, about Santa Claus, or kind of like alternative stories of Santa Claus, who he's, his origin story, I guess you could say. But this one, just of all of the ones I've come across, seems to be the most appealing, and looks like it would be really fascinating and would be really interesting to read. Another book I came across is called Christmas at High Rising. It's by Angela Thirkle, and it's a book of short stories from I don't know when they're set, but it says they were originally published in the 1930s and 1940s. And so it's just a bunch of little stories about the holidays, and I guess Angela Thirkle has written a lot of other books around this time frame, and she has quite, if you go through and you look at her books on Goodreads, you'll see that she has a lot of similar stories. I guess more like literature, maybe with some love stories mixed in, it looks like. But her books are from all like the 30s and the 40s, so it sounds like it's going to be something very nostalgic, very fun, very light, but also very unique and not your typical like romance novel. So I would really love to get my hands on this book. I'm not sure if I'll be able to. It seems like it's a bit obscure, but it looks like it would be perfect to read during the holidays. The next book is a really unique book. It's called The Fatman, A Tale of North Pole Noir by Ken Harmon. And it's a satire, it says, of traditional Christmas stories and noir, but it's about, it's kind of like a murder mystery. It says a hard-boiled elf is framed for murder in a North Pole world. And so the detective, I guess, is going to go and try and figure out what happened, who was killed, and there's all these like different fantasy elements, and it's also kind of humorous. And so it looks like it would just be something really unique. Again, a lot of these books are very short. This one, again, under 300 pages, and it just looks very interesting, very unique, a new I've never seen before, and so I would love to read this book. But again, very obscure, less than 400 ratings on Goodreads, so it doesn't seem like it's very well known, but I think it looks really cool. The next book is looks like a little bit kind of like maybe a children's book or a young adult book. It's called Cleric Laws by Alexandra Lank. And it's also very short, about 200 pages it says here, and it tells the story of Jack Frost and how he's attempting to destroy Christmas because he hates this holiday, and then he's threatened with losing his job and his immortality. And so he gets involved in this girl named Clara, and she's going to try and show him the real meaning of Christmas and things like that. So it's kind of like, is he going to get her? Is she going to like change his ways? Things like that. And it's part of, it says that it's a series called the Snowflake Triplets. So I'm not sure what the rest of the books are, but this one looks really unique, really fascinating. Again, another take on winter, Christmas, Jack Frost, and things like that with some fantasy elements, maybe a little bit of romance in there, but not the typical romance novel for sure. Another book I found, it was called Son of Santa, A Christmassy Carol, and I've never heard of this author. He goes by Sugar Ray Dodge. And I just thought this book sounded so unique and so interesting. This one's a little bit longer, like a traditional novel. It says it's 300 pages. And it's all about, obviously, the son of Santa Claus and how he doesn't want to take on the family business, I guess, type of thing. And he finds success in another area of his life, and he's kind of called back to the North Pole to take over, but he doesn't really want to do that. And again, it's about the meaning of Christmas, but it seems like it's going to be a little bit more humorous. At least that's the idea I get, especially from this cover, although there's another cover that shows from a different angle. So it just looks really interesting. Again, very obscure. I've never heard of this writer. This book doesn't seem to be anywhere online, only 2 ratings on Goodreads, but I'm always a sucker for finding unique books that nobody's ever heard of and that sound really cool and really interesting, so I would love to read this one around the holidays as well. The last book I'm going to talk about is in a series, and I usually don't read series out of order, but I think maybe for some series you can. A lot of the books are standalone, you don't miss a lot, and there's not a lot of spoilers, especially if they have like sort of a holiday edition of their book. And this one is called Spirit of Steamboat by Craig Johnson. It's part of the Walt Longmire series. It's book 9.1, so that kind of shows me that it's a little bit not part of the original series. It's kind of like an outlier, and Walt Longmire is a sheriff in Wyoming, and there's a whole series. It's kind of like a western, and I've never seen like a Christmassy type western or holiday one. So it's all about this sheriff, but then of course there is another subplot which has to do with the holidays. So basically, it's kind of like A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, and that he's reading this book, but he's interrupted by the Ghost of Christmas Past, which is this woman, and she's got questions and things like that. So it's a mystery. It's also got Western elements. I think the cover is really cool here with some art. It kind of looks almost steampunkish, and it just looks overall really fascinating and interesting. And I mean, this series in general looks like it could be really good, so it may just introduce you to a whole new series that you might end up enjoying about mysteries and westerns and things like that. So those are all the books that I've got here listed. I have a few more that are sort of untraditional, but these seem to be the most interesting ones. I think next I'm going to do a video on books that aren't necessarily holiday books, but that always make me think of Christmas when I think of them, that I've already read, or that I could see myself rereading around the holidays, but that aren't your typical ones like A Christmas Carol or Little Women or other classics like that. So that'll be coming up in another video. If you've read a book or heard of a book like similar to the ones I've mentioned that aren't romance, that are cool, that have plots, adventure, great characters and stories, but just happen to be set during the holidays, or even like a unique take on the Santa Claus origin or the Christmas origin or anything like that type story, then definitely leave a comment below, because I'm always looking for books like this and they seem to be so rare and hard to find. So definitely give me your recommendations there, and I'll talk to you in my next video about books that are great to read during the holidays but aren't your typical holiday books or don't even have Christmas themes at all. So that's it for now. I'll talk to you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.